They usually say that respect is earned. But I think as a Zimbabwean musician, at times you have to demand it. You never
have to demand it.
You never earn
Yeah.
Typically, we focus all our attention on the band leader or lead vocalist, while ignoring the rest.
MonoCast is hosting a program called Artist to Artist MonoCast, in which he sits down with a band member, session musician, or producer and discusses their lives, triumphs, and challenges.
I remember during your speech, you mentioned something about the uniqueness of Bira music.
Yes.
You said that you listen to different genres from around Africa, but there was something very unique about Zimbabwean music. And when you started hearing it, you couldn't figure out where the one was.
My first introduction to the music of Zim was, we did a tour with Thomas Mapfumo in Botswana, and he had a great band at that time. And I heard the music from afar then. But when I came to Zimbabwe now, you know that sometimes if you have a rhythm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. So I couldn't hear that 4. I could only hear the 6. And so it took time for me, and gradually staying with everybody to figure this out and to really hear it. For me, there's a heart to music, and what struck me and what still strikes me about in some Mbira music is that it's not just somebody playing an instrument for the sake of it, and you feel that there's a deep kind of connection that you don't necessarily have to be able to explain. But that for me is, I'm drawn in a way to Mbira-inspired music because it's something that people have looked within themselves. And
it's coming from within.
It's coming from them, and it's coming from their culture. It's coming naturally and with something of value that other cultures are not familiar with. So that's the thing that draws me to Mbira, I'm pretty sure.
You mentioned that at times keyboards, they mess up African music.
Yes.
And I like the fact that you referenced Keith Ferguson.
Yes.
Because he's known for playing keyboards that are very humble, that don't get in the way.
Yes.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So I think sometimes, you've got the texture. The texture makes the sound. And if you bring in a keyboard to a sound that's already, why do you need a keyboard actually? Because you've got the guitar, you've got the drums, you've got the bass, and they're all creating a rhythm. So for me, if you're going to put something in it like a keyboard, then think of what you're doing. Take time over the sounds and make sure that the sound of the keyboard matches the texture of the other instruments. So for me, sometimes the problem is that when a keyboard is brought in, it like overtakes. It overtakes the sound, and the texture is sometimes lost. So I'm not saying that keyboards cannot really enhance something, make it fatter, or make it sound like we're talking about contemporary. It needs to fit in exactly, and sometimes it shouldn't be dominated, because sometimes for me the sound that is used is harsh, and it just dominates, and it takes away from the beauty of the other instruments working together.
There's something that you mentioned about developing a personal voice as opposed to sounding like everybody else.
Everybody has their own tone when they're speaking, and so the more you go into yourself and recognize that, look, I might really love that musician, but I won't ever be like him. But I want to be the best of me.
Because I believe that every musician should strive to reach a point where anybody can identify them within a few seconds.
Yes.
Because if you listen to Thomas Mapfumo, all of them, to Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, within seconds you can tell
it's them.
Anyway, thanks for the chat. I was speaking to Debbie Metcalf. I was asking her, I was listening to all of them to this music from the 70s up to the mid-90s. And from the mid-90s, there was a shift in the sound, in the tempo, in the melodies. Let me explain myself. Number one, the tempo of the songs became slower. Number two, the guitar melodies became very distinct. You could tell that's the guitar line for Ziwere Bambiri Babira. That's the guitar line for Dande. I asked Debbie, what was the major contributory factor that caused that change? And she mentioned Steve Dyer. So I asked Steve Dyer, what was the contributory factor in affecting that change that we saw on the Dande album, that took music? And he credited you, and he credited Albert Kapondora a lot. What do you think were your major contributions to the change of the sound?
Hello, 1 2 1 2. Well, I was just playing drums the way they're supposed to be played, basically. I was more of a drummer than Picky was. But before when Picky was playing, I did swinging the other names. So when I came in, I was a bit more of a drummer than Picky. So I was more dedicated drummer than Picky. And then I think Picky went on the drums. Not because I was a drummer, but then there was no one else to fit in until I came. And then the time that I left, we got in a drummer, another drummer, listening.
And he was also a dedicated drummer.
Yeah,
Anyway, thank you. Yeah, teach. I know that you work more in South Africa than anywhere else. But you are from Zimbabwe.
But I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm coming back here.
What's the difference in terms of how musicians are treated in South Africa and Zimbabwe? Because I'm saying that because we went for the Tuku Memorial Concert at the Joy of Jazz.
With the Joy of Jazz.
We had two guys from gospel music circles, the bass player Naftali Shwandikwa and the drummer Matiwali. And they were saying, so this is how musicians are treated outside Zimbabwe. I mean, this is how, and I told them, this is how we were treated when we were part of everywhere else in the world. So they were shocked by the
treatment.
VIP treatment. Because in Zimbabwe, you are just treated like
that's the musician.
What else go bang?
Exactly.
The way the MC introduces you,
it's
the
like
way he stops you.
It's like you're a burden. And even when you arrive at a gig in South Africa, you are given a dressing room. So what you ask for? Hospitality, right? But in Zimbabwe, I'm not saying that we must ask for pink towels or something like that, but just treat guys normally, like vape toilet dressing room where they can change into.
I think the key word is respect.
Respect.
They usually say that respect is earned. But I think as a Zimbabwean musician, at times you have to demand it. You have to demand it. You never earn it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying also, that we also need to, my musicians, also demand and not just say, okay.
We did a jingle with somebody was the mediator, a friend of mine. And the money took long. Because when it comes to jingles, it's one-sided professionalism. The corporates want you to do it as soon as yesterday. But when it comes to paying you,
6 months.
So it took about 2 months before we were paid. And I went to the company and I said,
go.
Did you pay this guy? And he misused the money. They said, no, we haven't paid him yet. And I said, why? They said, because we have to do this and that. We're so busy. We're a busy corporation. And I said, okay, why don't we draft a contract before we do such things?
Exactly.
And state that a deposit has to be paid. And
because when you ask them for their services,
and when I say that, you know what she said?
What?
She said, if you demand such things, you just look for somebody else. I was shocked.
Wow.
Okay, so this is how we are treated as musicians. They don't want anything to do with paperwork, no contracts.
But the problem is, when you want services from them,
they demand.
It's a different now. You see,
so it's
one-sided.
Yeah,
correct.
So I don't know how we can correct it. But anyway, thanks for your insights.
No, thank you. The God's favorite guitarist.
Joyce, there's this issue with corporates in Zimbabwe where they want you to do their work as soon as yesterday. And they demand your highest level of professionalism. But when it comes to money, they pay you when they want.
Yeah.
With any currency they want.
It's quite...
And they don't want you to sign any paperwork. It has to be word of mouth. And at times they bypass the advertising agents. They just come straight to you and tell you want this to be done as soon as yesterday.
I think it all goes back to the value they put on the artist. I think a lot of corporates, they don't value artists. Don't my artist my wrong. But you know what I do when things like that happen is I have a manager. Okay, her name is Piwe. She does a very brilliant job. Oh yeah. She does a very brilliant job. So what?
She's cute. Do you have a number? Oh, it's a wife. Sorry.
She's very pretty. So she works in the corporate world. So the good thing is she knows the language, she knows the system. Yeah. So the moment I refer to them, she handles it.
They start being scared.
Yeah, they start being scared and they start being serious. Even what we charge, they will agree because she's speaking the language. If you do not speak the language,
yeah. Anyway,
it's very true.
Thanks for your insights. You need to victimize somebody else. This is funny. If you watched my book launch video, I introduced here and I talked about a fruit called Ni, which is very sweet. So she's a very sweet person. She's allowed me to do 2 events here. Alliance Francaise gives me the venue free, the lights for free, the sound system for free, the sound engineer as well, and then some money on top. That's the kind of support that we lack all across Africa. And I've noticed that the French, I know you're from France, are very good when it comes to supporting the arts.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put this across, because I would really love to encourage Africans in the corporate world and government and everywhere to see the value in art.
I would say my personal belief as a French person, and I think which is shared in France also, is that art contributes to build up human beings and citizens. So somehow, I think it is as good as a public service. To grow up a child, you need to learn mathematics, languages, but you also to be a complete human being, you need art. I mean, even on mental health issues, I think art contributes a lot in, being able to live and to live well in that today's world.
Let's discuss contracts.
My point of view about contracts is that it's important to have a contract for a performance, but it's important for both sides. Either you are organizing the show or either you are an artist. A contract allows you to clarify all the points, which needs to be clarified before. You know, what time you're supposed to come in, what time is the sound check, what time is the performance starting, how much are you getting paid, when are you getting paid, who are the musicians supposed to be on stage. All those things that, you can speak about things, but it's always better when it's written, so everyone knows and everyone agrees. So I think it's really important both sides. On the artist side, like let's say for example, to make sure the fee will be what you agreed on, but also on the organizer side, to know that I know it's these musicians coming and I haven't paid for 7 musicians and there will be only 3 on stage or things like that, just to make sure we all agree on something and we deliver and everyone is happy at the end.
I've got a friend of mine called Andrew Bate. He's a music producer and he always says a short pen is better than long memory.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we've captured that.